Hello guys, welcome back to Empower Tutorials. This is your master teacher Dr. Sonam. Yes guys, how are you all doing? So I'm back with our regular lectures on biology. Let me tell you all that we have also started with the MCQ batch. So there are few of my sessions of biology, 9th ICSE, 10th ICSE and as well as 10th CBSE. So I will be coming up with MCQs for all the subjects, that is biology, chemistry and probably physics as well. So do go through those sessions on YouTube as well. And if you have not liked and subscribed our channel as yet, please do it right away. Okay, guys. Yes. So in our regular theory classes, we had started with human physiology, and we've started with the circulatory system, in which we've already had about 2 sessions in the circulatory system, right? In which we have studied about the different kinds of cells, the different types of fluids. We have studied about what blood is. We've studied about all the different components of blood, right? We have studied about the different cells that the blood contains. Then we have also studied about these functions of these cells, right? So we have seen about the WBCs, the RBCs, there are platelets. Then in our next session, we also saw about the clotting factors. What is blood clotting? What are these factors? What are the enzymes that the uh, blood clotting factors or the platelets are releasing? How the entire process of clotting takes place. Then what we have also seen is we studied about the 2 types of blood grouping systems, the ABO system, the RS, the rhesus factor system. We also went through the complications that usually happen if we go via the rhesus blood group matching system, right? So this is just a gist of everything that I have covered in my 2 previous sessions of circulatory system. So do go through those sessions to know the basics of what all we are studying in the circulatory system. And today I am here with the third session of circulatory system. And today we are going to talk about the most important feature of the circulatory system, which is the human heart. How beautiful it looks, isn't it? I mean, how vague, in such a vague way, we just draw this diagram of a heart, you know. This is a heart. Do you really think the anatomy of the heart really looks like so simple? It's not. Now see, look at this heart here, which we usually draw, you know, just to express love in any way. And look at this anatomy of the heart, how different both of them look, and how complex this actual anatomy of the heart looks like. Just look at the functioning of the heart. Oh my God. See, there are all the nerve vessels inside, there are muscles, right? So we are going to be studying about everything that happens actually inside the human heart. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so now firstly we need to know about the location of the heart, right? We've always said that the heart is towards people. Some people used to say that, you know, it is always located on your right side. Then according to biology, or according to these articles and everything, people started saying that no, the correct location of the heart is towards the left hand side. So the heart is located on the left hand side. Okay, so now to clear all these things that are said, actually the heart is located in the right in the center between the 2 lungs and above the diaphragm. Okay, this structure that we see here, this concavity that we see here is the diaphragm. All right, and exactly above this, in the center of these 2 lungs, lies the heart. Okay, now why it is said to be on the left side is because the apex part, or the ending pointed part of the heart, is just a little shifted towards the left side, and that is why it is said that the heart is located on the left side. And why is that? Because wo jo apex ka part rehta hai heart ka, that has a lot of movement going inside, lot of blood vessels, lot of contraction, relaxations happening on that side. So you actually feel that heartbeat, you know, on that side of your chest. So that is why it is, you know, people are bound to say that okay, heart is located on the left hand side. So now firstly we know that the heart is present right in the center of the 2 lungs. And why we say that it is on the left? Because the apex of the heart is tilted towards the left hand side. All right, so that is about the location of the heart. Now coming to the covering of the heart, what is it? Is it just one single layer of just say muscle, tissue, bone, whatever? No, right? So firstly, what is the size of it? This is your hand, palm, close it, this becomes your fist. Okay, the size of the fist is going to be the size of your heart. Okay, so that is about the size. So size of the heart is that of our closed fist. Now it is if you take it like cut to cut measurement wise, it's going to be around 12 centimeters in length and 9 centimeters in width. All right. Now it is protected by a complete covering of cells, of protective layers or skin layers known as the pericardium. Cardia means the heart. Peri means the covering, outside covering. So that is why it is called pericardium. The covering of the heart is known as the pericardium. Okay. Now this pericardium further is divided into 3 layers. Okay. Epi will be the layer which is on top. The topmost layer is the epicardium. The middle layer is the myocardium, and the inside or the last, or you can say the deepest layer, is the endocardium. Okay. The complete layering or the covering is known as the pericardium, and that is further classified into epicardium, myocardium, and endocardium. Okay. So that is about the covering of the heart. Now going forward, there are some chambers in the heart. Okay. So to be precise, there are 4 chambers in the heart. All right. There are 2 upper chambers and 2 lower chambers. Okay. The upper chambers are known as atrium. Okay, they are known as atrium or auricle. It is also called as a auricle. So atrium or auricle, and the lower chambers are known as ventricles. Okay, uppers are atrium, lowers are ventricle. So we have left atrium, left ventricle, right ventricle. So these are the 4 chambers of the heart. Now it is like the quadrants, you know, like we have seen in maths, physics, everywhere. 1, 2, 3, 4. The quadrants that we have. So similarly, you can say that these are 4 quadrants or 4 chambers that we call it precisely in biology. Okay. So the heart has 2 upper chambers called the atria and 2 lower chambers called the ventricles. Right? Okay. Now coming to what is atria, what does the atria function like, what are ventricles, and what do they function like? Okay. So atria have thinner walls. Their function is to receive blood from the body and push it downwards towards the ventricles. Okay. So now these atria or atrium are going to get blood from all over the other parts of the body. And what they do is they push this blood downwards in the ventricles. Okay. And then from this ventricle, the blood will go to the lungs, get purified. Okay. And then it further gets passed on to the lungs and to all other parts of the body. Okay. So basically, ventricles are playing the role of firstly taking the oxygenated blood and then supplying it to all parts of the body. Okay. Atria is receiving blood, passing it down to the ventricles. Then ventricles, or you can precisely say the right ventricle will pump the blood to the lungs, and then the left ventricle will pump the blood to all other parts of the body. So that is the main function of the atrium and the ventricle. Okay. Remember 4 chambers: upper atriums, lower ventricles, right atrium, left atrium, right ventricle, left ventricle. Okay, are we clear with these 4 quadrants of the heart or 4 chambers of the heart? Right? Okay. Now going ahead, there are going to be certain blood vessels which are going to enter the heart. Right? Now, in general, we have studied about the blood vessels. We know there are majorly 3 types of blood vessels: the arteries, the veins, and the capillaries. Okay. Now, which arteries and which veins and which kind of capillaries are going to be present where in the heart is what we are seeing now. Okay. Now, there are going to be some blood vessels which are going to enter, and there are going to be some which are going to leave the heart. Right? Nutrition या blood pump करने के लिए एक set of vessels होंगे, and then there will be one set of vessels which will be passing out of the heart. Right? Okay. Now to begin with, blood vessels which are entering the heart. First one is known as the anterior vena cava, or also known as the superior. Upar या आगे, that is superior. Anterior means आगे, superior is upwards, more. So it is called as the superior vena cava, or it is also known as the anterior vena cava. Okay. Now see this part that you can see here. Yeah, heart ka structure hai. This is what the apex is called, the triangular part. This upper part is the superior vena cava or the anterior vena cava. और उसके नीचे वाला ये जो part है, this is the posterior vena cava or the inferior vena cava. Okay, so these are the 2 blood vessels which are entering the heart. ठीक है, ये ऊपर की साइड से है, ये lower side से है. So anterior vena cava or superior one brings deoxygenated blood from the upper regions of the body. Correct? Because it is located towards the upside. And posterior one will bring blood from the lower regions of the body. Correct? Are we clear with these vessels? Okay. Now coming to blood vessels which are leaving the heart. Okay. Now what are the blood vessels which are leaving the heart? So first one is the pulmonary artery, which arises from the right ventricle. Okay. Now see, I'll show you where is the pulmonary artery. Just give me a minute. Pulmonary artery arising from the left ventricle. Now see, from here the artery is arising. Okay. This is actually the pulmonary artery. Okay. Just give me a minute. Okay. See here. This is the pulmonary artery, but this is actually arising from here. Okay. ये right ventricle है. From this right ventricle, this artery is going to come up like this. ठीक है. ये यहाँ से बाहर निकल रही है. It's leaving the heart from the right ventricle. ठीक है. So this pulmonary artery arises from the right ventricle and carries the deoxygenated blood to the lungs for oxygenation. These are also the roles, okay, that these blood vessels are playing. Right ventricle से निकलती है. क्या लेके निकलती है ये artery? Deoxygenated blood, which is not pure, impure blood. Okay. So it will take this blood from the right ventricle. The pulmonary artery carries it and takes it to the lungs. Lungs में होता है purification of blood. Okay. That is the function of the pulmonary artery. And the most important blood vessel is the aorta. Okay. This part over here that you see, this one red one over here, comes from the left ventricle. Left ventricle में से निकलता है aorta. Okay. And then this aorta is carrying the oxygenated blood to the parts of the body. Okay. Are we clear what is coming from where and what function it is playing? Okay. Are we clear with that? All right. Let's go ahead. See, here also you can see all these vessels that we just saw. ये superior vena cava, ठीक है, upper वाला superior vena cava, and this is the inferior vena cava. The superior or anterior, inferior or posterior, ठीक है, ये हो गए blood vessels entering the heart, and blood vessels leaving the heart will be यहाँ से ही निकलेगा. Right ventricle से देखो ये निकल रहा है, pulmonary artery है इधर, और ये left ventricle से यहाँ से निकलता है aorta ऐसा. Okay, this is the descending aorta, means this aorta when it comes downwards, that is the descending aorta. Okay, I think this in this diagram, because it is shown diagrammatically, it's a little easier to understand. All right, so let's go ahead. Now, what are coronary arteries? ये हमने अभी जो aorta देखा, right? जो left ventricle में से निकल रहा है, aorta blood vessel which is leaving the heart. This aorta, the base of the aorta, again has two small arteries. Okay, two small arteries, and these two small arteries are known as the coronary arteries. Okay, they arise from the base of the aorta and supply the heart muscles. Now these coronary arteries are two in number, the right coronary artery and the left coronary artery respectively of the sides. Okay, now when there is going to be blockage in these arteries, okay, this is a very important thing. Coronary arteries are a very important blood vessel in the heart. When there is going to be ever blockage in these coronary arteries, then the patient is going to suffer myocardial infarction. What is myocardial infarction in layman terms? It is known as a heart attack. Okay, what we usually say, the patient has suffered a heart attack. So what happens in that patient is there is going to be achanak se there is going to be some blockage in these arteries. Okay, in these coronary arteries which are arising from the base of the aorta. Okay, so blockage in these arteries will lead to heart attack. In medical terms, it is known as myocardial infarction. All right, are we clear with that? Now, next thing, when proper oxygenated blood supply does not reach these arteries, okay, so one starts feeling pain in the chest. Okay, जब blood supply properly नहीं पहुंचता है, desired amount of blood supply does not reach these coronary arteries, then patient suffers from pain in the chest. So that pain in the chest is known as angina pectoris. Pectoris is a muscle of the heart, okay, or muscle of the chest. So that pain in that muscle leads to angina pectoris, okay, and this pain happens due to insufficient supply of blood. Okay, are we clear with these two things? Myocardial infarction and angina pectoris. Both of these terminologies are related to the left and the right coronary arteries, which are arising from the base of the aorta. All right. Yes, please keep this in mind. This is very important. Okay, going ahead. Valves of the heart. Now, there is something known as valves of the heart. Now, to remember it in simple terms, you can just remember that just memorize it in a way that valves basically are playing the role of a gatekeeper, you can say, or it is a gate जैसा ही उसको memorize करो. When I show you the working, when I show you a moving picture of this valve, you will exactly know why I am calling it a gate. ठीक है? Now there are going to be 4 valves. Okay, keep this in mind. 4 valves. One is the aortic valve. One is the tricuspid valve. One is the mitral valve. This mitral valve is also known as the bicuspid valve. And then we have the pulmonary valve. Okay, for now, these 4 names. Now let's go into the details of these valves and what functions do they play. Okay? First one is known as the tricuspid valve. It is located at the right atrioventricular junction. That is why it is also known as the right atrioventricular valve. That means right side पे होता है between the right atrium and the right ventricle. ठीक है? ये देखो tricuspid valve. ये right atrium है, ये right ventricle है. ये इन दोनों के बीच में junction पे है tricuspid valve. ठीक है? Now this is known as tricuspid because there are going to be 3 flaps or 3 cusps which are going to be present. Diagrammatically, it will look like something like this. ठीक है? ये valve है. How there are 3 buttons on the mouse of the computer? It looks like this. ये हो गया एक, ये हो गया दूसरा, और ये हो गया तीसरा. These are flap-like structures. Okay, you can call them flaps or you can call them cusps because they are 3 in number. It is known as a tricuspid valve. ठीक है? 3 in number, so it is tricuspid valve, and they are leaf-like positions, and they are present over there or held in position by chordae tendineae. Now there are certain muscles. ये जो नीचे ventricle है ना, ये right वाला जो ventricle है, ये ventricle में से कुछ projections निकलते हैं. These projections are muscles. What muscles? They are known as, here that is written, they are known as papillary muscles. ठीक है? ये papillary muscles के जो extensions होते हैं, those are known as chordae tendineae. They are basically cords which are connecting, or you can say holding this valve in place. ठीक है? Right ventricle, उसके muscles, papillary muscles, उनके extensions are known as chordae tendineae, which play the role of holding this tricuspid valve. Present where it is present? It is present at the junction of the right atrium and the right ventricle. ठीक है? Are we clear with the first valve? Okay. Now, इसका exactly opposite है bicuspid valve. Tricuspid is 3 cusps located on the right side between right atrium and right ventricle. Now, bicuspid valve will have 2 cusps or 2 flaps, and it is located on the left hand side. Again, same junction of left atrium and left ventricle. Okay, and this bicuspid valve is also known as the mitral valve. Okay, it is also called as left atrioventricular or bicuspid or mitral valve. Okay, guys. Yes. Now coming to the third valve, which is pulmonary semilunar valves. Why are they called semilunar? Why do you think? Because their structure is something like the semilunar. Lunar is a moon, right? So semilunar kind of structure it is. That is why it appears like something like this. Okay. So they are going to be 3 in number. This is their structure, the semilunar kind of structure. Okay. They are located in the opening of the right ventricle. Into the pulmonary artery. Remember, we saw the vessel, that is a pulmonary artery जो right ventricle से निकलता है. तो वहां पे जो उसका opening होता है into the pulmonary artery, ventricle का, that is where the pulmonary semilunar valves are located. See, it's here. The opening of the pulmonary artery के यहाँ पे होते हैं ये valves. See, here it is. You see this lunar kind of structure here. Okay, so that is the pulmonary valve, and it also is pocket shaped. Okay, so that is why they are pocket shaped valves. Now the fourth one is the aortic semilunar valves. Now they are located at the point of origin at the base of the aorta from the left ventricle. Now in these 2 valves, keep in mind the blood vessels which were leaving the heart. First वाला क्या था? Pulmonary artery right ventricle से निकल रहा था. दूसरा वाला क्या था? Aorta left ventricle से निकल रहा था. So aortic semilunar valves are present at the base of the aorta, which is coming from the left ventricle. They are also pocket shaped and 3 in number. So difference दोनों का सिर्फ location है. Pulmonary semilunar valves and aortic semilunar valves. Okay, are we clear with all these 4 valves? Yes. Now I'll show you all the working of these valves, so you all will understand this much better. Okay. Now see, ठीक है? ये देखो, ये right atrium, ये राइट वेंट्रिकल, ये उनका यहाँ पे जंक्शन, तो यहाँ पे होगा ट्राइकस्पिड, ये लेफ्ट वेंट्रिकल, ये लेफ्ट एट्रियम, ये लेफ्ट वेंट्रिकुलर, यहाँ पे जंक्शन पे होगा बाइकस्पिड वॉल्व, ये यहाँ से पल्मोनरी आर्टरी निकलेगी इधर, यहाँ पे जो ओपनिंग होगा वहां पे होगा पल्मोनरी सेमिल्यूनर वॉल्व, एंड ये एओर्टा, एओर्टा के बेस पे होगा एओर्टिक सेमिल्यूनर वॉल्व, ठीक है। नाउ सी द वर्किंग, सी, do you see there is one valve here, one valve here, see this is the tricuspid valve, the figure that I showed you all, ये देखो open कैसे हो रहा है, see there is one valve here, how it's opening, here it's opening, see this how it's opening, ये 3 flaps कैसे खुल रहे हैं, have a look at it again, it's beautiful guys, I mean the more depth you all go into of human physiology, you all are going to love it, getting how they are acting as valves, and we have studied that the working of these valves, or you can say the requirement of these valves, is why they are working like this is they prevent backflow of blood. This is a gate, ठीक है, ये ऐसा खुल रहा है और यहाँ से blood pass हो रहा है, this is the gate, this is opening, blood is passing, it immediately closes, it does not allow the blood to rush backwards, it prevents the backflow of blood, okay. So valve का main function होता है preventing backflow of blood. Okay, are we clear with this? This is a very important thing, guys. You ought to know the valves and their function, and most importantly, their locations where they are present. You want to see this once again? Have a look at this once again. It's a beautiful moving image of the pumping of the blood. Look how it looks. Okay, got it? Yes. Chalo, now we'll go ahead. Phases of the heartbeat. Now, we talk about heartbeat, right? We talk about what is a heartbeat. Heartbeat is fast, heartbeat is slow. We talk about these things, right? Now, what is exactly a heartbeat? Hota kya hai exactly heartbeat mein? How the heart is pumping blood? What is the function of it? What are the processes involved? Kitne time ke liye chalta hai? How many heartbeats are there in 1 minute? All that we will be studying now. Okay? Now, to begin with, just remember there are 4 phases of the heartbeat. Okay, 4 phases. First one is, I'll tell you all the order. I'm not speaking in terms of order, but I'm just telling you all these 4 phases, the names of these 4 phases. Atrial systole, ventricular systole, atrial diastole, and ventricular diastole. Okay. 2 are systoles, 2 are diastoles. What is a systole and what is a diastole? Now we know that working of the heart is pumping blood. ये constant motion हो रहा है heart का, ये pumping motion हो रहा है, ठीक है? This is contraction, this is relaxation. This is contraction of the muscles, this is relaxation. Okay, understand this motion. Okay, this is very important, guys. This is contraction, this is relaxation. Muscles are contracting, taking in blood, muscles are relaxing, blood is getting released. Okay, this is how the heart beats. Okay, this is basically the beat of the heart. Now you all will understand how. So ये जो contraction हो रहा है ना, this contraction is known as the systole, and this relaxation is known as the diastole. Okay, contraction is the systole and relaxation is the diastole. Okay, now you all have understood the basics. Now we'll be seeing what and how it happens. Okay, now it starts with the contraction. Okay, matlab it starts with the systole. Okay, now let's see the atrial systole first and then the ventricular systole. Atrial systole, for a name, what happens in that is the atrial muscles are contracting. Matlab ye upar wale muscles are contracting. Okay, opening of the vena cava and pulmonary veins will close. ये इनके openings जो है, this is the vena cava, ये ऊपर से आ रहा था, we have seen, this is the cut section of the heart. Okay, this vena cava is coming from up, ठीक है, and then there is a pulmonary vein here. So इनके जो openings होते हैं, they are closing now because the heart is going to contract. Blood का अभी movement होने वाला है, तो the openings are closing. Then what happens is, then the blood will enter the ventricles by crossing the tricuspid and the bicuspid valve, right? We have just seen valves. So firstly ये entry close होगी, फिर अंदर अभी जो blood है, that blood is passing from the tricuspid and the bicuspid valve, मतलब left and right side के दोनों के. We are talking about atria, मतलब this process is happening here, ठीक है, ये right और ये left, both are atriums. यहाँ पे होगा tricuspid valve, यहाँ पे होगा bicuspid valve. See here it's mentioned over here. Bicuspid is with 2 cusps, tricuspid is 3 cusps, ठीक है. तो यहाँ से अभी ब्लड एंटर हो रहा है एट्रियम से, ये वॉल्व्स को पास होके वेंट्रिकल में एंटर हो रहा है. उसके बाद व्हाट हैपेंस इज सेमिल्यूनर वॉल्व्स एट द रूट ऑफ द पल्मोनरी आर्टरी and the aorta are closed, producing the sound dup to prevent flow of blood backwards into the ventricle. ये यहाँ आ गया blood, ठीक है. अब ये जो walls है, नीचे वाले जो walls है, semilunar walls, ठीक है. These are also going to close, ठीक है. Just imagine gush of water. जो gushing water का आवाज रहता है ना, वैसा there is the sound which is produced by gushing of blood or flow of blood. That flow of blood का आवाज जो आता है from atrial systole is known as a dup. Okay, and that same voice when comes from the ventricular systole, it is known as a lub. Okay, so the sounds of the heart are actually lub dup, lub dup, lub dup. That is the sound of the blood, the gushing sound of blood or the movement of blood which is in the heart. It is not that that filmy kind of music which we have seen in say TV and movies and theaters and all of that, nor is it dhak and all what we have actually in our mind. It is lumped up, lumped up, lumped up. Okay, and this awaz is just not coming. It is coming because of a process which is happening. The gushing movement of blood from atria to ventricles, from ventricles to atria, and then towards the entire body parts. Okay, so that is the noise which is lub dup, lub dup. Okay, now we have seen in the atrial systole. Now let's go to the ventricular systole. Now जैसे atrial systole में atrial muscles were contracting, वैसे ventricular systole में ventricular muscles are contracting. Remember, we are still talking about the systole. Still we are talking about this contraction which is happening. अभी तक हम relaxation पे नहीं आए हैं, अभी तक contraction ही हो रहा है. Now in the ventricular systole, ventricular muscles are contracting. Tricuspid and bicuspid walls will close with a jerk, producing the sound lub. ठीक है? ये जो dub sound आ रहा था, this is coming from the closure of semilunar valves. Okay, and the lub sound is coming from the closure of tricuspid and bicuspid valves. Okay, this is also important. Now blood is passing into the aorta and the pulmonary artery through the semilunar valves. Atrial systole में blood कहाँ तक पहुंचा था? Semilunar valves तक पहुंचा था. फिर जब वो close होता है तो we hear the sound. उसके बाद the process reaches the ventricular systole and then semilunar valves में से blood निकल के जब when that thing is closing or when the movement is happening, then the valves are giving the sound of lub. Then from there the blood is going towards the pulmonary artery and the aorta from the semilunar valves. ठीक है? Atria will draw in the blood through the openings of the vena cava and the pulmonary vein. Caudate tendinae hold the valves in position, preventing their upturning due to pressure exerted by the contracting vessels. Now, muscles जैसे contract हो रहे हैं, right? तो उनका जो pressure होगा, there is so much of blood that is flowing. The muscles are contracting with so much pressure. तो ये pressure की वजह से sometimes it can happen that the walls of the heart cannot take this pressure and can lead to backflow of the blood. ठीक है? तो ये backflow prevent करता है ये valves, and what is holding these valves? It is the caudate tendinae, right? What I just asked you, what I just explained you some time back. नीचे के ventricles के जो muscles होते हैं, those are known as papillary muscles. वो papillary muscles का जो extension होता है, thread-like structures or cord-like structures known as caudate tendinae, which are holding these valves in place, which are playing the major function of preventing the backflow of blood. All right, are we clear with this? Now we have finished the part of contraction. We have seen atrial systole, we have seen ventricular systole. अभी contraction के बाद जब ये blood छोड़ेंगे, जब relaxation होगा, then let's see what happens. Okay, so now coming to the relaxation phase. Circulation of blood starts with contraction and ends with relaxation of the atrium and ventricles. Obviously, it has to relax, right? Contraction में सब movement हो गया blood का. Relaxation of ventricles is called the ventricular diastole and relaxation of atrium is called the atrial diastole. Now see, when this contraction is happening, na, atrial contraction, ventricular contraction अलग-अलग होता है because the main movement of this blood is actually happening in the systole. But जो relaxation का period होता है, that is not like a very active phase which is there. Okay, it is just relaxation. तो ये relaxation का जो period रहता है ना, वो joint होता है, as in auricles or atrium and ventricle का joint relaxation होता है. That is why it is also known as a joint diastole. ठीक है? Because these two events happen for a short period of time, that is why they are known as a joint diastole. Okay? The entire sequence of events together is called as one cardiac cycle. Of all these events, मतलब क्या क्या उसमें? Sorry. It starts with the atrial systole. तो atrial systole होगा, फिर ventricular systole होगा, और फिर the joint diastole will happen, and that will complete one cardiac cycle. Okay. अब ये पूरा जो cycle हुआ है, that happens in 0.85 seconds. Just imagine. So much we have been discussing from past 15 minutes, and all this happens in it doesn't even take 1 second. Just imagine, it happens in 0.85 seconds. Okay. So now 0.85 seconds is the duration of the complete cardiac cycle. ठीक है, ये चारों events का मिला के इतना duration है. Now the breakup is ventricular systole takes 0.30 seconds, atrial systole takes 0.15 seconds, and the joint diastole takes about 0.4 seconds. Okay, are we clear with this? Okay, that is about the relaxation phase. Now we have seen how contraction is happening, how blood is flowing, from where it is going where, and also another thing that we have seen is the relaxation phase. We have heard about the terms lup and dub, which are produced by the semilunar walls and by the tricuspid and bicuspid walls. Okay. Okay, so this was about the human heart. It is beautiful. I mean, I'm just loving this. Just look at how the working is happening. There is so much pressure. I mean, in this moving image only, you can feel so much pressure, how it's working. See, look at this. Okay, so that is it about the working of the heart. And there is just a small part of the chapter that is remaining. So probably we will get it covered in the next session. Probably the 4th session would be end of the circulatory system. So very small 2-3 things, 2-3 more fluids of the body are remaining that we will be covering in that, and maybe 1 or 2 diseases related to the blood cells and the amount of blood present in the body. So we will be covering up all of that in our last upcoming session. So today's session, guys, is very important. Please go through it. And one more important part that is left from today's session, which I will be covering in the next session, is blood enters the atrium from where, how it goes to the ventricle. There is oxygenated blood, there is deoxygenated blood. Which blood comes from where does it go into the lungs and get purified, and then how it is supplied to the body parts. This part we will be covering in the next class. So today's class is important, as well as the next session will be very important. Okay, so guys, do not miss this circulatory system. It is my personal favorite. It's a request. Do attend all the sessions of this chapter. You all are going to enjoy it. You all are going to enjoy the beauty of the human physiology. Trust me. Okay. Till then, like and share and subscribe Empower Tutorials on YouTube. I will see you soon. Bye-bye.